Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. But really hit that like button and share the video if you could. I would really appreciate it. Today's video is regarding a few different elements that we don't really discuss too often, but are part of the case. For example, the first topic will be the footprint that was discovered near Dylan Mortensen's room. Now, some people probably aren't really aware of where that was, and I would assume that law enforcement knows that the shoe print is facing towards the stairs, because if it was facing the other direction, it wouldn't match what Dylan Mortensen was saying. So if you see right here, this is Xana Kernodle's room, and Kohberger, or the killer, if you will, if you don't want to say it's Brian Kohberger, came out of Xana Kernodle's room and was leaving and then headed in that direction. And there's this little step down right here. And I think it's right in that area, right here, where he left his footprint. Now, I'm sure Dylan wasn't as out in the open as this. I just put her there just so you can easily see her, but I'm sure the door was probably ajar, maybe a foot or so, and she's looking through it. And he likely didn't even see her when he was leaving. And I think if he did see her, he wouldn't have spent very much time doing blood spatter mitigation at his car. But apparently if he left at 2:18 and he's seen leaving in the white Honda Elantra missing its front license plate at 4:20 and 47 seconds, that means he probably took off at 4 minutes and 35 seconds, or even a little bit later than that. And so for about 2.5 minutes, he was near his car, probably making sure that no blood got into the vehicle. Now, somebody did mention the other day that maybe he sat in the room to remove, various items, like maybe his shoes or something like that, because apparently they weren't able to find any blood outside the house. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. That's from Howard Blum's book, and he had at least 5 or 6 factual errors in the portion that I just happened to listen to. I purchased it, the audio book, and while I'm exercising, I was listening to it, and I was just amazed at how many errors there were in it. So I'm not sure if that's an accurate piece of information. So here we have the portion of the probable cause document that mentions the footprint. It says, during the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by the ISP forensic team, by first using a presumptive blood test and then amino black, a protein stain that detects the presence of cellular material. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to the pattern of a Vans type shoe sole just outside the door of Dylan Mortensen. And it was just outside of her bedroom, and it was located on the second floor. This is consistent with Dylan Mortensen's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel. So to get something straight here, it says the detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern, but it used amino black. Now, it's not really amino black, it's amido, M-A-M-I-D-O. And here it is right here, amido black. And it says, amido black is an effective blood reagent when latent or difficult to see blood stains are present. AB will develop exceptional fine detail as needed in bloody fingerprints and footwear impressions. Amino black reacts with blood proteins to create a deep blue color change. The water-based formulation includes a blood fixative in the ready-to-use application, perfect for crime scene processing. The methanol-based formulation will develop sharper detail in the 3-part application. This technique is more suitable for lab processing. The methanol formula requires evidence to be fixed prior to the application of AB. For crime scene use, apply directly to suspected stains. Non-porous surfaces tend to yield the best results with amido black and require little or no overstain rinsing. So there you have it. That's what they actually use. And here's a sample of a print discovered using amido black right there. That's obviously not the diamond-shaped van style print, but right here is a sample of what you can get with amido black. So that's what they were using. And it was interesting because in a document we were just looking at the other day, it says that she saw Kohberger, the man in all black, walking by this wall right here. She said that other wall that sticks out. So she actually was able to watch him as he went that direction. So the footprint obviously must be facing in that direction for law enforcement to be able to say that, yes, this matches what Dylan Mortensen said. Now, people say that Brian Kohberger, I think it might even be in one of the documents, that they were able to take size 13 shoes from his home, and then there's people out there that are claiming that the footprint that was found outside of Dylan Mortensen's room is size 13, but I have seen absolutely zero documents out there that show that information. So here's a normal, typical van style shoe with the diamond shaped pattern right there. And a friend of mine, Zozo, out there, she was showing me this image right here, and it does look like maybe those are van shoes taken out of the house. Now obviously the killer isn't going to leave his shoes there, so other people own van style shoes, and maybe that's exactly what those are, but I doubt anybody inside the home is who left those footprints, because they took these out a long time before the probable cause document was created. They must have been able to determine that the footprint did not belong to any of the shoes that were found in the house. I think it is possible. I don't know if they checked. When I say I don't know, I'm almost 100% certain that they did. But Hunter was walking around in there. Remember, he went to the kitchen to get the knife. Maybe he stepped on a little bit, and he also went to the room, right? So at some point, maybe he brought the knife back to the kitchen. I don't know how it worked, but maybe he stepped in that area, and I don't know what size shoes he wears or if he has van shoes, but I'm sure law enforcement checked all that and determined that that's an unknown footprint, and they were not able to find anybody who likely could have left that footprint there, and have determined that that likely is from the killer, who in this case would be Brian Kohberger. Now, did they determine that it was a size 13 shoe? Sounds like they might have a good idea of what size it was if they got all the way down to the point of a full latent footprint with diamond-shaped pattern. Perhaps they were able to determine the size of it. Now, in this picture here, you can see the van-style shoe in the back there. You got the little label, and perhaps that's what these are here. But again, it's probably absolutely irrelevant that the van-style shoes were in that bag, because lots of people own them, and law enforcement has determined that the footprints do not belong to anybody in the residence, or it wouldn't have made it into the probable cause document as being part of it. Now let's take a look at this. While the Pennsylvania search warrants reveal police seized several pairs of shoes, none listed appear to match the van-style footprints left in blood in the victim's home. However, Mancuso told BRC-13 the shoes police did recover could still be valuable to prosecutors. So perhaps the shoes that they did recover would be the same size as the footprint that they determined made the van-style footprint outside of Dylan's room. So, after this, the person would have went out, and now this is a shot from inside of Dylan's room, but they would have gone out the kitchen, there's the person walking by. They would have left a footprint there. When I say the person, I believe 100% that that's Bryan Kohberger. Now, you can believe whatever the hell you want to believe, but when trial comes around, you'll all realize, you pro-burgers out there, that Bryan Kohberger has been the killer all along, and it's not really a confusing case. And then look, there's that wall, and here he is walking past that, so she saw that. And then the person goes out the sliding glass door right there, right? So I think it's really a valuable tool to have this 360-degree view to be able to examine this kind of stuff. But the footprint likely was right around in this area. I would actually imagine it might have even been like right in here, where the person steps down and turns, and then the shoe print is pointed into the kitchen, denoting the person going out the door. Okay, and another thing I want to talk about are the latex gloves that Kohberger was wearing when law enforcement arrived at his home to arrest him. So it says Monroe County First Assistant District Attorney Michael Mancuso told BRC 13 that Kohberger was found awake in the kitchen area, dressed in shorts and a shirt on December 30th when cops raided his family's Albrightsville home at around 1:30 a.m. The 28-year-old suspect was also wearing latex medical-type gloves and apparently taking his personal trash and putting it into separate Ziploc baggies, Mancuso said. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. I mean, what's amazing is that the pro-burger nut jobs out there always have an excuse for everything. So in this case, he just has, OCD, and this is something he normally did, except we know that his sister noticed this behavior, and they'd never seen it before, him wearing gloves, etc. All right, and even if you have OCD, you might separate your trash, but why would you care if it was in your own garbage can? Why would you bring it over to the neighbor's garbage can? I actually think that this is one of the most damning pieces of information that's in the case. Let's take a look at another article that kind of mentions the same thing. Mancuso said, Mr. Kohberger was found awake in the kitchen area, this is in People magazine, dressed in shorts and a shirt, wearing latex medical type gloves, and apparently was taking his personal trash and putting it into a separate Ziploc bag or baggies. And then once authorities saw the suspect doing this, Mancuso said, it shed light on a possible reason as to why Kohberger's DNA was not found in the family's trash in the days prior. Because as we know, prior to that, a trash pull was done days before, and it recovered DNA profiles, but not from him, only from his family members. And as we know, it's his father's DNA that led to his arrest, because they were able to determine that the DNA in the trash can, the profile that they used was the biological father of the contributor to the DNA on the knife sheath. And that was enough to arrest Bryan Kohberger and then do a buccal swab and collect his DNA. And then they compared that again to the knife sheath sample, and it was a 100% match. After Kohberger's arrest in Pennsylvania, he was extradited back to Idaho to face the charges against him. And as we can see right here, on the 27th in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania police recovered trash from Kohberger's residence, and a DNA sample was determined to be Bryan Kohberger's father. And then on 12:30 right here, this says 1:45 in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, Kohberger was arrested and taken into custody. The article said 1:30, 15 minutes here or there. When he was arrested, doesn't really matter to me, but around 1:30 we can say Kohberger was arrested, and that's when they noticed that he was wearing latex gloves and he was in the kitchen separating his trash, probably wanted to make sure everybody else was asleep. That's why he's doing it at 1:30 in the morning. Pretty creepy stuff, and I think it's very, very damning information. All right, so the final thing that I want to talk about is something that I talked about in the video that I just put out, and also on a live stream, and it's the movements of the Elantra and the CAS data of the vehicle in southeast Pullman, Washington. So let's take a look at this. We know that Ann Taylor caused a big, commotion over the time changing of when Kohberger's phone was turned off and taken off the network. So it says, regarding Brian Kohberger's phone, authorities stated that it stopped reporting to the network at around 2:47 a.m. on November 13th, the night of the Idaho student murders. The phone then reconnected. Now, when they say night, it's actually the early morning hours. The phone then reconnected at about 4:48 a.m. south of Moscow near Blaine, Idaho. So it was off for a 2-hour period. But it's important to note, initially, some information indicated that the phone stopped reporting to the network at 2:47 a.m., as claimed in the initial search warrants and arrest warrant. However, the state later conceded based on its own discovery disclosures. So they weren't hiding anything. They're the ones that actually discovered it. That the phone went off the network at 2:54 a.m. All right, so that's when it went off. Now, based on everything that we know about the timing that they put out there, we don't know what time. Is it really 2:54? Is it 2:53 and 20 seconds? Is it 2:47 there? What time was that? I mean, we don't know, right? So we don't have the precise time that law enforcement has. So now let's take a look at the probable cause document and how it was worded on there. It says at approximately 2:53 a.m., a white sedan, which is consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington, towards SR 270. SR 270 connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. So here is 270 right here, or Main Street, and it takes you all the way to Moscow, Idaho over here. This is Moscow, and this is Pullman, Washington. So again, let's take a look at that one more time. It said the vehicle was observed traveling southeast. So the vehicle was actually traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman towards SR 270. Now, if we take a look at my timeline, and then right here it says at 2:53, Kohberger's vehicle was spotted, or the white Elantra was, so if you don't believe it's Kohberger, you can just say the white Elantra, was spotted in Pullman, Washington on Nevada Street and Stadium Way. All right, now right here, it says that at 2:54, just like Ann Taylor said, the phone or CAS data showed that Kohberger's phone was turned off and not at home, and it was in southeast Pullman, Washington. So right here, just remember it was spotted at 2:53, and let me show you where that was spotted. It was spotted right here, and this is Stadium Way, and this is Nevada Street. Now right here, this street is not Nevada Street. This is Northeast Washington Street. This is Nevada, just right there, and then it becomes Olympia Avenue. But just in this little area here, it's Nevada Street. And the vehicle was heading southeast. And if we pan out, notice how this is Pullman, south is down here, and this is the east side. So that's showing that the phone turned off right down in this area. So at 2:53, if the vehicle was headed in this direction, see right there, you could just see when it was about just like that, it says Southeast Nevada Street right there. That means it's heading in this direction, and I believe that this is how he made it back out onto SR 270s. He drove like this, down and around, and then came out right there. And again, that takes you across. Now, the timing in here is pretty tight, but the thing is people don't always drive the exact speed limit. You know, like in here it might be 15 miles an hour. Somebody would drive 20. On the highway here, if it's 55, you might be driving 60. And when you use the mapping program, it just uses the local speed limit for the timing, and very few people actually drive right at the speed limit. So let's take a look at it like this. At 2:53, the vehicle's heading in this direction. Then at 2:54, likely right around in this area right here, that's when the phone was turned off and taken off the network. Probably when he's sort of out in this area here. He's nowhere near cameras, etc. So he comes down here. I mean, if you look, this is all parking area. And there's like a neighborhood behind trees here. So this is a route that he could take and basically not be seen. So he drives down here like this and out here. Now let's take a look at Google Maps. Right, let's go in here and let's do exactly what I just said. He came in here at 2:53, and then right around in this area at 2:54, he turned off his phone. So what we'll do is we'll do a mapping from here, and then let's say the destination is right there. Now look at that. That took 3 minutes. Now, was it 2 minutes and 40 seconds? I don't really know. It's only 0.8 miles, so you'd have to be driving incredibly slow for it to, take 3 minutes to drive 0.8 miles. I think that is like, getting close to 20 miles an hour, if that, like less than that. And so let's say it gets out here in 3 minutes, and then apparently way over here it's spotted at Floyd's Cannabis Shop driving by at 3:02. So let's add another destination and put that right here. And that's 9 minutes. The total length of time is 9 minutes from right there. So if you go from 2:54, you add 9 minutes, it's 3:03. Now look how close that is in time to driving by Floyd's Cannabis Shop. I mean, was Floyd Cannabis Shop at 3:02 and 40 seconds? I mean, like the vehicle, if it just drove a little over the speed limit, would have got there at 3:02. So I think it absolutely locks in the time frame that vehicle would be right there. In fact, I wouldn't mind going out there and testing that route, and I guarantee you, if I did it, it'd be 7 or 8 minutes. There's no way I would drive exactly the speed limit. That's crazy. All right, and nobody does that out there. Gray, you always say that. Well, it's true, man. Nobody drives the speed limit. Nobody drives 55 in a 55. They drive 60. But I thought I'd put that out there and show you that I think that the vehicle drove right here and went on Olympia Avenue, then Forest Way all the way to SR 270, which is also Main Street, and then drove over to Moscow, Idaho, passing Floyd's Cannabis Shop right around 3:02. We don't know what the seconds are, all right? So that is it, and I just want to say thank you all very much for watching the video. If you could hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. Share the video and subscribe to my channel. I'm just going to keep going over little elements of the case so that you have much more clarity of what's going on. But just realize this, everybody. Bryan Kohberger is the killer, in my opinion. Now, you might not believe he's the killer, and that's okay, but you're always going to be disappointed on my channel because I believe he is the killer, and I don't have any doubts at all. Like, there isn't one lingering bit of information. In fact, I would have lingering information if there was one piece of evidence that literally said or pointed away from him doing it. So even the people who mention the blood spatter on the banister, or just a blood, whatever they did, they found a little sample of blood there, and there was a glove outside that another YouTuber just happened to put on the ground there, and apparently there might have been some blood on that. They want you to ignore all the evidence against Brian Koberger. Now, if Koberger wants to say that there was somebody else there with him, heck, I'll be all ears. I'd be like, wow, that's crazy. But he definitely was there. There is no doubt about it. His white Elantra was driving around the neighborhood missing a front license plate, and Brian Koberger's DNA was found on the knife sheath that was deposited at the scene exactly when the homicides took place, therefore verifying that the white Elantra driving around was his. All right, so again, thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate it. Like the video, share it, and as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there.